The land spied out. As truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh. Readings Numbers 13 and 14. Objective. By seeing the effects of the report of the faithless spies on the children of Israel, we can learn how to develop the faith that sustains our vision of the kingdom and overcome the weaknesses and fears we all possess. Background: Deuteronomy 1 verses 19 to 22. 2 years after their deliverance from Egypt, the children of Israel came to Kadesh Barnea, on the border of the Promised Land. Now all they needed to do was to go in and possess the land which God had promised them. Behold, Yahweh thy God hath set the land before thee. Go up and possess it. Fear not, neither be discouraged. Deuteronomy 1 verse 21. Go up and possess the land. Numbers 13 verse 1 to 20. Moses encouraged the people to go in and inherit the land, but the people hesitated. They wanted to send scouts to spy out the land. It seemed a reasonable request, but was in fact a sign of their lack of faith and courage. God had already spied out the land and pronounced it a land flowing with milk and honey. Exodus 3 verse 8 and verse 17. Nevertheless, he instructed Moses to select one ruler from each tribe. See chapter 13 verses 1 to 3. These 12 Moses sent forth with the mission to observe the people of the land, whether they be strong or weak, few or many. Verse 18. Whether the people lived in tents or fortified cities. Verse 19. What the land looked like, its trees and its fruit. Verse 20. Be of good courage and bring of the fruit of the land. Moses knew that nothing would be more encouraging for everyone than to see the fruit of this lush land. He was confident of a good report. The spies return. Numbers 13 verses 21 to 33. The spies searched out the land for 40 days, from north to south. At Eshcol, they cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes so huge that it required 2 men to carry it on a pole. They had seen with their own eyes that it was a good land, just as God had promised. Surely it floweth with milk and honey. Verse 27. With what confidence they would go now forward. Surely he would give them the land. However, 10 of the spies were anxious to tell what else they had seen. They were overwhelmed by fear of the people and the cities. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. Verse 28. They emphasized the problems and anxieties that loomed so large in their mind, and lost sight of the vision. Very quickly, the people who listened caught the fear in their voices. Soon the whole camp was disquieted and afraid. On the other hand, Caleb, supported by Joshua, was full of enthusiasm. He calmed the people and said, "Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it." In verse 30. But the 10 unfaithful spies challenged Caleb's words. "We be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we." Verse 31. They went on to exaggerate the situation, saying that the land was one which eateth up the inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it were of great stature, and we were in our sight as grasshoppers. Verse 33. So they spread an evil report. Verse 32. It is a measure of the faith of the nation that only 2 of these 12 spies who were leaders in their tribes, demonstrated faith in God's promises. Open rebellion, Numbers 14 verses 1 to 19. The report of the 10 spies put fear into the heart of the people, and they were convinced that they would only become prey for the strong nations of Canaan. They lacked faith in God's ability to give them a safe entrance into their promised inheritance. After a period of bitter weeping and murmuring against God, Deuteronomy 1 verse 27, the people openly rebelled against Moses and Aaron and said, "Let us make a captain and let us return to Egypt," in verse 4. And eventually they did. Nehemiah 9 verse 17. Moses and Aaron fell to the ground as they pleaded with them. Joshua and Caleb protested, "The land is an exceeding good land. Rebel not against Yahweh, neither fear ye the people of the land. Their defence is departed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Fear them not." Verse 9. But the people would not hear and talked of stoning them. Suddenly God intervened. The glory of Yahweh appeared in the tabernacle, in the sight of all the people. Verse 10. He threatened to strike them down with a plague and dispossess them. He would make Moses a greater and mightier nation. Verses 11 and 12. Instantly Moses responded. He had no ambitious thought for himself whatsoever. Two things sprang to his mind as he hastened to intercede for his people. 1. God's name would be mocked by the surrounding nations if he failed to bring them into the land. Verses 13 to 16. 2. His character, as he had revealed it to Moses, surely would make it possible for him to pardon his people. Verses 17 to 19. Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of thy mercy. Yahweh replies, Numbers 14 verses 20 to 45. Moses' intercession brought about the forgiveness of the nation. God replied and said, I have pardoned. Verse 20. But Yahweh swore 2 oaths, which spoke of the certainty of 1. The glorious future fulfillment of his promise. As truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh. Verse 21. And 2. The devastating punishment on the generation who had seen his glory and the miraculous signs God had performed in Egypt and in the desert. As truly as I live, your carcasses shall fall in the wilderness. Verse 28 to 29. These oaths were sure to be fulfilled as Yahweh swore them by his own existence. His purpose would not fail, even though those individuals and the whole nation that had departed Egypt would not enter the promised land. Basic Bible teaching. The earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh. What was meant by the glory of Yahweh? Moses asked God to show me thy glory. Exodus 33 verse 18. God responded by revealing to Moses his wonderful character of mercy, grace, long-suffering, goodness and truth. Exodus 34 verses 6 to 7. So Yahweh intends to fill the earth with people who show the qualities of his character. Only one man had ever done so, Christ. Anyone who saw him saw the character of his Father. John 14 verse 9. When will God fill the earth with people who reflect his character? When Christ returns and raises the dead, the faithful out of every generation will be given immortality and be equal to the angels. Luke 20 verse 36. They will spread the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh throughout all the earth. Habakkuk 2 verse 14. At the end of the millennium, the whole earth will be full of his glory, when sin and death will have been abolished, and God will be all in all. 1 Corinthians 15 verses 24 to 28. God had graciously pardoned his people, but the people had to suffer the consequences of their sin. For each day the spies spent viewing the land, Israel must spend the same number of years wandering in the wilderness, till that generation died. Verse 29. They had seen God's glory and his miracles and had been faithless. Verse 22. It was 2 years already since they had left Egypt, and now they must spend another 28 years on a journey that should have taken a few days. Deuteronomy 1 verse 2. The 10 faithless spies who had caused the people to lose heart died by God's hand. Verse 36 to 37. Only Caleb and Joshua would enter the land. Of Caleb, Yahweh said he had another spirit. Verse 24. A different attitude altogether. The thought of years of wandering in the wilderness quickly changed the outlook of the people. They rose up early the next morning, determined to set off for the land. They only got as far as the hill country when the Amalekites chased them, as bees do, to Hormah, meaning utter destruction. The survivors returned to the camp and wept before Yahweh, but he would not change his mind. Deuteronomy 1 verse 44 to 45. Principle for living, a vision of the kingdom. Without a vision of the kingdom, our challenges can quickly appear too hard. It is important that the vision is clear in our minds, for where there is no vision, the people perish. Proverbs 29 verse 18. In addition to a vision, we need the faith that our loving Father is able to bring us into his kingdom. We believe that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Hebrews 11 verse 6. God has left many glimpses of the kingdom for us to find in the Bible. For example, we find that Christ and the saints will rule justly and wisely from Jerusalem, the new world capital. Isaiah 2 verse 2 to 4, and Isaiah 11 verse 4, and Psalm 72 verse 2. Listen to the cause of the poor and crush all oppressors. Psalm 72 verse 4. Establish the worldwide worship of the living God. Zechariah 14 verse 16 and chapter 8 verse 22. Establish rural communities because the earth will produce rich crops. Psalm 72 verse 16, Amos 9 verse 13, and Joel 3 verse 18. Rebeautify the earth and rid it of man's greed and carelessness, so that all creation will glorify God. Isaiah 41 verses 18 to 20. There are real benefits for all nations. Add to this the joy of immortality, and we have a wonderful vision of the kingdom which inspires us every day while we wait for Christ to come. Summary. The report of the 10 faithless spies led to fear and bitterness in the camp of Israel. Moses prayed for them and God pardoned their sin, but they were condemned to wander another 38 years. Of all that generation of the men of war, Deuteronomy 2 verse 14. Only the 2 faithful spies would enter the promised land. The rest would die in the wilderness. Yahweh's purpose would be fulfilled in the earth, even though that generation had failed. These lessons are the words taken from the Christadelphian Sunday School Association notes, www.cssa.asn.au, used with permission. Email your questions to readthebible2@gmail.com, and we look forward to you listening to the next lesson, which will be called Rebellion in Israel.